Hello, beautiful people. Thank you so much for joining me today. I wanted to talk about something that has been affecting not only my clients, but my friends and my acquaintances since this pandemic has started. And that is grief regarding identity loss. And first, we should probably clarify what is identity loss. So, our identity is really the roles we've accepted or been assigned in life, and the story we tell ourselves about those roles. And much of that identity, or those stories, that reel that plays in our unconscious, is not conscious until we have lost part of it, or part of it is challenged. And then we really struggle with a sense of who we are, and that creates some anxiety and grief. And I wanted to talk a little bit about those losses today and how we can maybe cope with them. So, identity loss comes in many shapes and many forms. Quite often, one of the first things we'll think of when we think of identity loss is when we lose a loved one and we have been a caregiver for them prior to their passing. We've had this identity of somebody who has been a helper and a caregiver, and when that's no longer required, we might question who we are and what our purpose in life is. There are other sorts of identities that we can lose and cause the same questioning. There's our financial identity, our professional identity, how we make our money, how we make our living. There is our sense of spiritual identity, our community, and also our cultural identity. And you can imagine that somebody who has immigrated to a new country, how their experience in this new place might challenge the story that they've told themselves about who they are and really create a sense of loss. So how do we honor that grief? How do we navigate this loss? Well, first of all, I would like to mention that different doesn't mean bad, and uncomfortable doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be tumultuous. So in navigating this search for a new identity or understanding who we are, again, I'm going to come back to the tool in the toolbox you have about stillness, that self-awareness, really looking at, do we want to be defined by the definition we've given of ourself? We can also explore things like talking to a friend, talking to a professional helper, such as myself or anybody else you choose. There are things such as journaling. There are ways to move that grief through art, painting, drawing, music, dancing, ways to express parts of us that maybe we haven't before. And in that search for, or that expression, we might find that we no longer necessarily need that part of our identity, and yet we still might have a mourning or a loss for that. And that is okay. Just like any grief, there's no clear-cut answer in how to move with it and through it, but it's all part of a process. And in that process, to be kind and to be gentle with yourself and to explore and to question. And just another rambling from Marty, something I wanted to mention today because it does affect so many of us during this time where we are navigating new waters, new identities. And I thank you for sharing your time with me. Until next time, please stay well, be hydrated, well nourished, and well rested.